if I'm going to be honest with you, I rarely use deodorants or cologne or any kind of fragrances because I think there is a bigger and more important factor to smelling nice than these cosmetic chemicals themselves. The reason that I use the word rarely is because I still wear them if I'm going to work and I've had a busy day, which means I'm going to be a bit sweaty, or I'm going to a more professional event. But as I go through my day-to-day life, if I'm going to be at home for 75% of the day, if I'm going to school, I'm not really going to stress about it all that much because, as I say, I think there is a bigger factor to smelling nice than just these cosmetic chemicals. Some scientific studies have even said as well that certain fragrances and certain deodorants can show some endocrine disrupting properties, and honestly, I'm a bit torn on this. I have not done enough research to actually make a conclusive statement. When I look at the ingredients list on my deodorants, there's nothing in there that genuinely screams out to me that this is a horrible chemical. There's nothing in there that genuinely imitates closely the structure of any kind of hormone that I know about anyway. However, when it comes to colognes and fragrances, these are a little bit more interesting. When you logically think about it, if you look at your cologne or fragrance or aftershave or whatever it is on your desk, there is no ingredients list on that thing. And producers and firms, they know that when you have these fragrances on your desk, you're not likely to have the ingredients list at your disposal, right? So they're probably more likely logically to put some bit shadier chemicals inside of their fragrances, one, to make it smell nice, but also to increase its shelf life. Aftershaves normally last for around, 4 to 5 years before going out of date and then like smelling bad, or maybe they'll cause like some skin issues and stuff like that when you spray it on yourself. And when you think about it, there's this chemical concoction that smells unusually nice. You'd think over time that would chemically decompose. But if you add chemicals that, while make it more of a chemical concoction, but at the same time, they actually increase its shelf life and it increase its chemical stability. But while it may increase its chemical stability, when these molecules are sprayed on you and they may dermally interact with you, they may get into the cells in your skin and then get into your tissues and systems from there. They may be biologically active even if they're not able to chemically react with other molecules inside of the aftershave and fragrances. So I think it's a lot more likely that colognes and fragrances would contain a lot of estrogenic chemicals than some deodorants. I think if you use generic mainstream deodorants, honestly, you're going to be fine. Companies such as Lynx, the flavorings and stuff, they all seem pretty fine. The sort of base deodorant mixture seems pretty healthy at first glance. Obviously, I'll probably do some more research on this, but as I'm going to say, this is more about the factors that actually mean that you're going to smell nice rather than the chemical properties of deodorants and aftershaves. But I still want to go through that because I do think it's important. This is why I'm definitely more likely to just spray a bit of deodorant on if I'm going to work and I've had a busy day and I'm sweating, just in case that like I do smell bad or whatever, or I'm going out for dinner. Obviously, if I'm going to a more professional event, I will wear some fragrances, etc. But I genuinely think that lifestyle, things like diet, exercise and sleep are genuinely bigger parts to play in how well you smell compared to these cosmetic chemicals. When you exercise, you sweat, and sometimes sweat can smell quite bad. It can release like BO and produce all those like pungent chemicals. But if the diet that you were eating is good and healthy for you, it's nutritious, your sweat won't smell bad compared to if you are having a diet that is consisting of fast foods and junk foods. Your sweat will genuinely smell worse on a bad diet. Your BO will be amplified on a bad diet compared to on a good diet. And that's why these cosmetic chemicals didn't really exist, and there was no complaints about BO and people like smelling in that kind of body odor sense like quite a while back, because otherwise how would people still be able to be in like relationships and friendships if you just walked around like releasing some pungent BO at every single second of the day? No, that's because in the last 50 years, fast food and junk food have been rising, and they're the things that actually cause these kind of chemical reactions in a way. The like fermentation that occurs inside of like the sweat glands. It's all quite disgusting, but when you have a healthy diet, this stuff doesn't happen. Your sweat is nice and clean and salty, and in some cases, I guess, could smell nice. And this also relates to how well your breath smells. If you're eating acidic, sugary, processed, ultra processed, junk fast food, your breath will smell bad. But if you were just having some nice breakfast, some healthy meats, some like whole meats, some oats and some fruits and all this sort of nice stuff, your breath will actually smell good, because you're not like, all these acids aren't being produced in your mouth when you have all these sugary foods. And you know that sugar rots your teeth. They taught you that in school. And it's the same kind of stuff with ultra processed food and junk food. And in turn, it just makes your breath smell worse. And if you think about that, that may seem more logical than sweat being able to smell worse or better depending on your diet and your lifestyle. But it's the same sort of thing. The things that you put in eventually come out. And if the stuff that you put in is better and more nutritious, the stuff that comes out is probably going to smell a lot better, and you as a human being just aren't going to release as much pungent smells because your diet is good. That means your skin quality is going to be better, and it all sort of has a positive reinforcing effect that means that you smell better when you have a good diet, unless there are specific medical conditions that you have compared to when you were on a like junk foody diet. But that is like on a person to person basis, you will smell better. That is an unequivocal argument, but it depends on your genetics, medical conditions, where that sort of like actually is. Like, you may still smell bad on a good diet, but you'll still smell better than if you were on a bad diet, for instance. And the same thing applies to things like sleep. If you have bad sleep and you are genuinely quite a lazy person potentially, you kind of sit around all day eating snacks, playing video games. Again, the snacks come into the diet side of things, and you may be like a bit overweight and you get bad sleep. All of that's going to just affect how much you smell. The people that lead these kind of lifestyles, as you may be able to stereotypically imagine, will smell worse than someone who's a lot more athletic and someone who has the correct nutrition. Obviously, if you're being quite athletic and exercising, you're still gonna smell, because if you have moisture generally, like under your armpits, for instance, like no matter what kind of moisture it is, what else is contained other than water and salt inside of that moisture, the fact that it's in a damp environment, it's still going to end up producing some body odor, but it's not going to be as much as if the sweat generally smells quite bad in the first place, I suppose. But it's one of those things where, yeah, you might still smell bad on a good diet, but you will unequivocally smell better than if you are the same person on a bad diet. That's just how biology works. And I hope you found this video useful in just increasing your knowledge about fragrances and all that sort of stuff. But with that, I recommend subscribing for more content like this, and have a good day.